Bonjour, welcome back. We are just starting Unit 3 and we're going to be covering the tricky sounds. This is actually just going to be going over this once, then you can practice it, and that is it. This is going to be a pretty quick unit. So, first, a little bit of a recap. Look at everything that you've done so far. Everything we've already covered is actually in green. So, you have covered these. We are only working on these things right at the bottom here. So, I just want to take a second to say, look at you. Even if you don't have these mastered yet, you have a starting awareness of all of these sounds. And this is wonderful and so much more useful than just memorizing words. Knowing these sounds are going to help you put together things in a way that works for how our brain learns to read, which is actually by knowing the individual sounds. So even if your child is just learning French now, or if you're just trying to catch up, this is the foundation. And look how much you've already covered. That is pretty great. All right, so let's talk about these tricky sounds. H is the only one that's really different in English and French. Maybe QU as well, but we've already done that. So H is the only really new one, but I still wanted to cover these ones just because they are a little bit trickier. So in French, this is H's sound. It says nothing at all. No sound. Some people go like this for H, but I don't like this because this makes me think of a sh sound. I just cover the mouth like this. And I like to make it a game with students. If I ever ask them like what sound this is, I'm like, or if they ask me, I'm like, I'm answering you because it makes no sound at all. So that actually means Santa Claus, we talked about this earlier, but Santa Claus does not say ho, ho, ho. He says, oh, oh, oh. Just the letter O. Okay, so this is something very, very common. You are used to seeing this as th, like in English, but that sound does not exist in French. If you think about it, a lot of French people have issue with like th, like the. You might hear de, right? Because they don't actually have the th sound. So this H is actually silent. This is just t, right? H is still. And I actually like to think of H as reading a book he's just really into, and he's turning the pages. He's like, can't wait to see what happens next. He's like, oh, right? Still reading his book. Now, this is past the alphabet level, but I wanted to give you this because this sound here is very, very common. CH make a sh sound, right? Same as this one here. This formula, these two letters going together as a team, is pretty uncommon in French, right? So don't worry about it. But this one here, sh, same sound, but it's in a lot of words. So I did want to show you the times, unlike this one where it's silent, the times when H actually works together as a team to make a different sound. So sh, sh, and just like you know already, f. I like to think of CH because H loves reading, right? When Say and Ash get together, they actually are library monitors and they're so excited. They got to make sure everyone's following the rules. So they go around, they say, shh, shh, whenever somebody is talking too loudly in a library. All right. Okay, now we're moving on to R. And R is an incredibly tricky sound for English speakers to make in French. The good news is that it's close enough to the English R that you can just say the English R sound, the R, and that's okay. You'll just sound a little bit more Québécois if you do, because they actually, Québécois, use the English R in their when they speak French. So maybe you're just Québécois. But if you did want to try and practice the French R, this is a little bit strange, but what you're going to do is you're actually going to relax your tongue. So your tongue, when you say R, R, you can actually feel it moving, right? R, it's actually touching something called the alveolar ridge, which is this ridge right up here at the top of your mouth. You can kind of feel that bump. That's what it does in English when you say the sound. It's touching there. But in French, you actually involve the uvula, the kind of dangly thing at the back of your throat. So it's totally different. But your tongue should be relaxed. It should literally be sitting like level with your teeth, your bottom teeth, just sitting there in that divot, which is so hard. But if you want to work on making the R sound, you can either gargle water, because that sound, like when you're gargling, is very similar. It comes from the same place. You can growl to yourself and go, like if you're like a cat or a dog, you can practice it that way. But you can also just practice your tongue just relaxing and sitting at the bottom. So what some people do to start is they actually put a pen or pencil. If you're me, you clean it first because you're like, I don't know, I've been holding that with my hand. But they put it in and they put it as far back in their mouth as they can, and then they say the R sound. And what it does is you're literally forcing an object in there so your tongue can't lift because it hits it as a barrier. So that would actually help you make the R sound as well. But honestly, it's fine just to say the English R. It's close enough. It is okay. Those tips are just for, the overachievers who want to start building it over time. Okay. And there are a lot of videos on YouTube if you want specifics or going into a little bit more depth of how to work on that sound. All right. W or W. In English, it's W. In French, it is double V. But it is said same as English. But be careful. It's not wah. Wah. That's what I hear a lot. And that's adding that sound we got to get rid of. So it's a cut. I find it's easier to say this sound if you're not really projecting. If you're trying to say it loudly, you're going to get a wah. But if you say it quiet, you can also always try and put this with a vowel. Wah, wee, and that'll help. However, it's not in very many French words, so you don't have to worry about it. But don't add that All right, this is actually the same in English and in French, but I wanted to point it out as a tricky sound because it's actually two sounds. Sometimes I think of a symbol going, and that's actually the k sound followed by the s sound. So this symbol actually represents two sounds, which is kind of cool. But it's the same as in English. Think of the word tax, ax, fax, ks, very close together. And if you're working on writing with your child, this is very interesting because remembering that one, this makes ks, two sounds, and two, being able to write it down, that you can write down ks, or you could just write down x, is definitely a mind shift. All right, quick recap. Little brother U, remember, he gets really shy when he goes out with his big brother, so he doesn't talk, and you just hear the k sound from the big brother. All right, I'll give you a sec to look at these sounds. Give them a try. No sound. And that is actually it. You are going to have a second video so you can actually practice these sounds, just these 5 here. So you get a little bit more familiar, but keep in mind that other than H and R, these, okay, I take that back. I was going to say they don't come up very often, but W and X don't come up very often. The other 3 do. But English R is okay here, okay? So you can practice these a little bit more, but once you're ready, you can actually move on to the fourth and final unit, and that unit is just going to be giving you more practice. We're going to be putting everything together so you can practice all the sounds at once. Little video for you to follow for that. And then I'm just going to talk a little bit about code packs, which you cannot see right now, which is okay, but how you're actually going to use these at home for working with your child, or so that's going to be a video how to use them working with your child, or just how to use them yourself for working with your own sound knowledge. And then I'll cover just a little bit of activity suggestions for what you can work on at home with your child if they're still working on developing that reading foundation. Okay, au revoir et à la prochaine.